Welcome back, everybody. We really have come such a long way in opening the discussion surrounding suicide prevention. From veterans to teens, we still see alarming numbers in our own communities right here in Utah.
Joining us to share more about mental health in today's sponsored segment is CL Smith from Salt Lake Community Colleges. And CL, this is National Suicide Prevention Month.
Yeah.
What is our situation in Utah like?
Utah consistently ranks as one of the top states with some of the highest suicide rate. There was a study in 2018 that ranked us number 6, and traditionally the Intermountain West states tend to be in the top 10 and have been for many, many years.
Do we know why?
There's a lot of hypotheses. There's no solid evidence as to why that is. There's some hypotheses about elevation. More rural areas typically have higher rates as well, and typically the Intermountain West states have a lot of rural area. There's a lot of hypotheses, so we don't really know.
When people hear it's National Suicide Prevention Month, and you'll hear that several times in September, what is that all about? What should we be reminded of?
It's a time where a lot of companies, jump on a way to try and bring more awareness to hotlines, to different resources in their communities. I've seen plenty. I've seen Google have some banners. I've seen a bunch of, different websites I go to have connections this month to different resources. But it's a really good time to start raising awareness and give resources to those in need and those who are in a space to help those in need.
Speaking of those in need, who are we talking about? Who's primarily affected?
If we're talking about age breakdowns, and this is something I think a lot of people are aware of, our youth tend to have much higher rates. So if we're talking about an age breakdown 10 to 17 and 18 to 24 in Utah, that's their first leading cause of death is suicide. And then when you go up from there, 25 plus, suicide is still one of the top 10 reasons people die in Utah.
In 2019, there were an estimated 1.38 million suicide attempts. Mm-hmm. What should we be looking for? What are the signs?
Yeah. There's the very obvious ones, like someone stating that, they want to end their life. That one is pretty direct, but sometimes you'll hear things that are a little more subtle, I just can't do life anymore, or I can't handle this. They might start giving away belongings. You might see self-care, showering, hygiene, that might start decreasing. They might express lots of feelings of worthlessness, guilt, feeling like a burden to other people. You'd see that a lot as well. So those might be some more subtle clues that someone is struggling.
Are signs different in men versus women?
Not that I'm aware of, no. I think, and I'm a little skewed because I see both in my practice, mm-hmm. but I think they're pretty standard across the board. It just depends on the person. Some people might be a little more willing to open up about this. Some you might hardly see anything.
Well, that's what I know circumstances where a loved one or the parent or the sibling had no idea, mm-hmm. had no clue, and that is, it's hard to help someone when you don't know they need help.
Yeah, no, and that happens. We hear that all the time. And it's not that we don't know, if maybe they did show something, but they might have been so subtle, mm-hmm. or they might have told it to someone or someone might have seen it that didn't really know what they were looking at.
So you mentioned help. How do we best help someone that does open up, or you do see some of those signs?
Listening really is the number one. I know a lot of people fear doing something wrong when talking about this, but honestly, just being there for the conversation is one of the biggest helps. Listening, trying not to fix the problem. If you feel like they're in a danger, you can always help them call a crisis line. You can take them to an ER. All the ERs have crisis workers. Typically they're social workers that they can talk with. You can walk them through those processes as well if you aren't comfortable leaving them alone.
Is there something we should not do? Is there something that,
yeah,
if you're trying to help, that you should absolutely not do?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is really just shutting down the conversation. And the ways that I see that happen a lot is people freaking out, kind of yelling no, don't feel that way, right? Those things will shut it down. Minimizing is a big one too. We hear a lot. People saying some people have bigger problems, don't, be happy, it's fine, this isn't a big deal. Those are really effective ways to just shut down a conversation, make it really likely that this person doesn't want to talk to you or anyone else again about this, which puts them at much bigger risks.
So tough to talk about, because I think for a lot of people out there, you feel like if you say the word suicide, mm-hmm. now I've given them an idea, so how do I tiptoe around this?
And I say I think that's a little bit of a misconception, because as far as we're aware, bringing up suicide doesn't put it in someone's head. If they've thought about it, and most people have at least passively thought about it, it's not putting it in their head and making it more likely. We don't have any research that tells us that or supports it. So really just being direct is not a bad way to go.
I see in your list here you say ask about their suicidal feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, why are you feeling this way? Tell me your feelings and your thoughts.
Yeah, like what's going on. Like you're not going to up their risk by asking them directly, as far as we know. In fact, it's going to give you more information about how severe it is and might help you gauge what you need to do next.
Do you keep with the conversation, or do you recommend they call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline?
I think the suicide prevention hotline is really really good. There's also one in Utah, the University of Utah Neuropsychiatric Institute. We call it the Uni Hotline. That's one for the state. Calling the hotlines is really good. Uni also has what they call a warm line. Kind of think of it as it's not quite someone in crisis that needs help right then, but it's a good time to talk if you're getting there. But there's some good resources to call, and if someone's in that spot where they need a little more help, I think that's a great time to call.
CL, this is such an important topic, and it's the focus this month. Thank you so much for joining us for the sponsored message. And we'll put all the information on our website, too, so if you need to help someone, you can.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, CL.
We're back after this.